Hello, I'm Dr. Grace O'Donovan, and I'm a member of the Chalford Climate Action Network, affectionately known as ChalCAN around here. We are trying to reverse the effects of climate change, which is caused mainly by the burning of fossil fuels, releasing carbon dioxide into the air. One of the many ways of capturing carbon again is to plant trees. Our parish council has pledged to reduce our carbon emissions to zero by 2030. So one of the many ways of doing this is to plant trees. Now, Chalford Parish in itself has over 30% tree cover. So why do we need more trees? Well, the average for Britain is 13%, but the average for Europe is 37%. So there's always room to plant more trees. I'm walking through Frith Wood, which is in the heart of Chalford Parish, and this is classed as an ancient woodland because it's been here since 1600. These trees are not the same trees that were there then, but it's still a very nice forest. It is a large forest. It's 10 hectares in size, and we've counted 276 ash trees in this woodland. Trouble with that is that all the trees are suffering from ash dieback, so they will have to be felled at some point. And that is a bit of a problem because we are losing a lot of carbon with these trees. So how are we going to deal with this when we come to trying to get to net carbon zero by 2030? I'm standing up here today on Minchinhampton Common, and it doesn't look much at this time of the year, but in the summer it's a blaze of colour with all sorts of wild flowers and several species of orchids. And because of that, it's been designated a site of special scientific interest. So why am I telling you that? Well, Gloucestershire County Council want to plant 30 million trees in Gloucestershire so that we will reach our net carbon zero by 2030. And a site like this, to the uneducated eye, would be a perfect place to plant a lot of trees. Friends of the Earth have created a woodland opportunity map for the whole of England, and that is a model which shows you where trees might be planted. Now, they should have taken into account sites of special scientific interest, but there's always mistakes in models. So if you have this map, you still have to check the ground to show where trees could be planted. So here I am again back in Frith Wood, and as you can see, they've taken out quite a lot of the ash trees due to ash dieback. 54 trees in all, apparently. It looks pretty devastating at the moment, but it will do for a while. We're writing a management plan for this part of the wood, and we'll keep some of the larger logs for invertebrates and some of the brash as well. And also it opens up the canopy in the woodland here because the planting density is quite high, so leaving some canopy open allows more light down to the ground and allows more things to germinate and to flower. Here's our map again of all the ash trees in Frith Wood. Most of these will have to be removed due to ash dieback. The trees are about 8 years old, so it will take a long time to replace the carbon lost, but we can make a start now by planting more trees. So the next question is, where should we plant them? We were gifted 150 trees by the Stroud Valleys project about this time last year, and we were in a bit of a hurry to get them into the ground. So we approached the parish council, and they said they had some land up in Middle Hill adjacent to the allotments here. So we walked the land, and one of the things to realise is when you're planting trees, you have to plant them in the right place. So we decided to check out that there wasn't anything special here, but we did find out that on one side we had quite species poor grassland, but along this line there was a sudden change into something that was quite species rich with orchids. So this was a good thing that we realised we should plant on the species poor grassland, and we started our project over here. So here we are, this is where we planted the trees. We had 80 volunteers from Chalford Climate Action Network, and they came on one day in March and planted all 150 trees in one go. So it was a great community effort. And we had to plant the right sort of trees as well. We had to, first of all, they had to be broad-leaved, and secondly, they have to be climate resilient. So we planted a range of species: bird cherry, spindle, oak, not ash obviously, so that we had a good mix of species, and that eventually these trees will grow up to fill up our carbon deficit. It's also very good for wildlife. We've noticed that a kestrel has been flying over the site since the trees have been planted, mainly because the grass is a lot higher. It's attracting more insects, and that in turn is attracting some wild bird species. Well, it's been 5 months since we were here last, and as you can see, the trees have grown quite a lot. It hasn't been easy because there was a severe drought as soon as they were planted, and they had to be watered quite regularly afterwards. They have to be cared for at least 2 years to become established. Luckily, there's a water supply nearby in the allotments, and that made it easier to keep them alive. Other thing that has to happen is they get mulched at the bottom to prevent weeds from growing, and this meadow has to be trimmed at least once a year to keep down the competition for light. The other thing that happened was that even with all the care that was given, several of the trees did die and they had to be replaced. Since the community has established the spinney, not only is it locking up carbon, it's also attracting quite a lot of wildlife. This has been part of a wider initiative within the parish to develop a biodiversity trail, and the spinney is now part of that trail. To establish a woodland successfully, you have to get a number of things right. The first thing is the correct site. If you don't get the right site, then the rest of it doesn't really matter. Secondly, you have to get the right sort of trees that are adapted to climate change and are resilient. Thirdly, it takes a lot of effort to maintain them in the first 2 years, and people tend to forget that. You have to make a lot of effort to make sure that they don't die. So as a community, we're very proud to have established our spinney, and we hope that it will lock carbon up for many years to come, just like these trees over here.